Greetings and blessings to the audience that listens to this. Thanks to Danny Anderson for inviting me to speak at the Cosmic and Spiritual Informers Connection in Orlando, Florida. Unfortunately, I cannot attend in person due to actual traveling restrictions and other factors. So I am doing this pre-recorded presentation for the event. To introduce myself, I am SunBôw True Brother. That's my author's name. I have authored 6 books in the last 6 years, 4 of which are on the topic of Sasquatch, as we often call those hairy humanoids. The first 3 books form the series, The Sasquatch Message to Humanity, describing my first-hand experiences, encounters, communications, and the channel messages they transmitted to me. The book 3 of the series, it's a collaboration of 10 international co-authors who have also had communications with the Sasquatch. The next book I self-published is called Hairy Humanoids from the Wild, Encyclopedia of All Things Sasquatch. It is an extensive research exploring all the oral tradition and millennia of literature on the hairy humanoids, from legends to modern research, including a first-hand account and the paranormal phenomena associated with the hairy humanoids. I also manage a website which is called Scenic Sasquatch. SCENIC stand for Sasquatch Close Encounter Network for Interspecies Communications. We have already nearly 900 articles there, posts and videos, including over 300 experiencers, first-hand accounts for our readers. I am often asked in consultations or interviews similar questions about my connection with Sasquatch, how it came to be, and often how it started. Danny asked me to share here a couple of stories that I shared this winter in an interview with her that describe pretty much summarize my path with those beings. It is in fact 2 stories in one that took place at the same place, same location. That happened at the first one was 41 years ago, and the second one took place just 3 years ago. The first story, I was 17 in 1981, and we went 10 young men to camp by the river, Fraser River, in so-called British Columbia, near the Chehalis Reserve of the Salishan First Nation, from whom the very name Sasquatch comes. This name is now known worldwide and widely used, but that's where it originated. So without knowing anything back then as a youngster, we stripped some branches from a couple of small cedars there and to build our lean-to and camped. And in the middle of the night, it was pouring rain and pitch black, and we heard those heavy footsteps coming our way through the brush along the river, and we all mentioned feeling someone talking to our heads or in our dreams, some said, that was admonishing us for not respecting the place. Before we knew it, the post that was holding our structure was 6 inches thick, snapped, and the roof fell in our faces, and we found ourselves in the middle of a dark, rainy night, wondering what happened. One of us had stayed in a small tent next to us, and he freaked out. He arrived and he said, "We need to go, we need to go." And we asked him why. And he said, "You won't believe me, but I saw a hairy monster come and put down the camp and then vanish like a ghost." So we didn't even relate the story to Sasquatch back then. We did not really try to couldn't make sense out of it. So that was my first close encounter. And within the same week, or about a week later maybe, I happened to take my first vision quest on that same place, as instructed by a medicine man I had priorly met. And I met my first spirit guide. Of course, at first it can be frightening, and it takes years of practice to learn how to work with the other realms, the spirits and third dimensional beings. So that was the start for me, I can say, and it took 33 years of learning the shamanic path with several elders of various indigenous nations, and to discover that about the paranormal, the spirit world, the psychic phenomena, and to get familiar with these. Throughout all these years, there were a lot of other encounters, including a lot of UFOs and star beings that came and manifested to me in various locations, and Sasquatch as well. I found signs, heard them, and had a very clear sighting with a friend on Vancouver Island in 2003. And that time we were driving in the bush and we saw Sasquatch standing there, and we froze. And I knew from then on that because of the psychic power we felt that hypnotized, almost paralyzed us, I knew it was not a big ape, nor a primitive relict hominin or a caveman of some kind. It was something else. And it took me again many more years of research until I finally had information from my native side about being part Sasquatch. Story I've told, so I won't detail again here. This triggered me to start researching those beings and relatives and find out who really they were. And by then, I was in 2014, 2015, I was getting trained well enough in psychic and paranormal phenomena to be able to communicate with them. It took a whole year of regular contacts. They would come and visit me before I would start to really engage and to willingly accept to communicate, because they can be very impressive. Their energy is very powerful, and each time they communicate, it's a new teaching. It's a greater understanding they bring. So I had to go through, like every experiencer, through the process of first accepting, because there's always denial, that these things are not supposed to exist, and I don't understand. So it's impossible. What we call cognitive dissonance. And then we have to finally accept that, yeah, these things happen, and I'm willing to learn and to engage to get into communication for a greater understanding. And all experiencers go through this process that takes a while. It can take years to finally be ready to relate to these beings and learn that they are not as mainstream Bigfoot readers trying to say monsters or uh, cannibals or big apes or an unknown primate. They have manifested over and over, and all experiencers will tell you, including several indigenous elders, respected spiritual elders I have met over North America and in Australia, that have great connections and knowledge about those beings. So what are they? They are, some people have tried to put a name on them, a scientific taxon. They were all used from Homo erectus to Gigantopithecus and so on, Neanderthals, and that's not what they are. They are humanoids that are very highly advanced spiritually and psychically, and they have powers that we could call psychic powers that some of the mystics and shamans have known in our human cultures. And those powers allow them to communicate through telepathy, for instance, or to come in your dreams, because it's easier to for us to communicate at first with them this way. They can also appear and disappear, materialize, dematerialize themselves as well as objects. They can teleport, bilocate, and shapeshift. There's many stories of people who see them turn into a log or a stone or an animal. And they also have this permeating consciousness, which allows them to impregnate any element or of the landscape, whether rocks, logs, clouds, waves, trees. Then this way they can manifest their consciousness in any vehicle they choose. Another thing about them is that they are much more ancient than us, but very closely related. And they are also very connected with the star people, the star elders, as I like to call them, the ones who are watchers, who are wise, ancient beings taking care of the world. And the Sasquatch are part of them. They have been here for so long, and they have been on other planets as well, long before humanity was created. So they are still in contact and part of the Star Council. And so they can be, for us humans, as the closest relatives they are, they are the ambassadors, the mediators between us and the star beings. And why I say our closest relatives, because several genetic species have been conducted, and also that's what they say themselves, but they have 99% of our DNA. So they are like our elder brothers and sisters, elder relatives, as many native tribes call it. So to continue with this evolution that took all these years after connecting, after a year in 2014 of contact, in early 2015, regular contacts, they asked me to come and meet them, and that's when I started having open conversations and meeting them times face to face. And that's when I received the Sasquatch Message to Humanity. It turned into a book series, and there was international conferences, retreats, and events organized in conjunction with the launching of these books. There were several networks and groups and websites that were created also in this disclosure effort, movement, collective effort. So there are many more stories that we could tell in half an hour, but I will move to the last part of the story I told at the beginning, which happened in Chiapas by the Fraser River. In 2018, I went with with a friend who's also a Sasquatch communicator. His name is Eric. We went first to Harrison Hot Springs near Sasquatch Park. It is the Sasquatch capital of the world. They have a Sasquatch Days event every summer. It's a native-led event with native ceremonies. And we went there and we camped by the lake and we had some contacts that first night. And then I proposed we went to the place I was, the first story I told, by the river. And we went to camp there, and I told him the story about the lean-to we had been put down while we were in it. And when we got there, we found the remains of the lean-to, like the beams were still laying in the grass there, surprisingly. But right in front of it, there was a structure, a tree structure, small, fairly small, but very intricate, very elaborate, with even green boughs woven into it with knots, and it was obviously freshly made. And we figured it was made just for us, for visiting this place, for me the second time. 38 years after the first time. So we camped, a little campfire, and we sat, and we first had a grandmother Sasquatch, matriarch, which first appeared to me clearly and gave me a message. And then she appeared to Eric and she did the same with him and gave him a message, and she sent him 5 big waves of love that he felt like a release. And she said, now you are ready to meet us. And just as he told me this, we started hearing heavy footfalls, branches cracking, knocks on trees, like a big, something heavy and big coming our way, real fast, and stopped maybe like 20 feet from us. My friend was looking at me with big round eyes, holding onto his chair, and I said, "The Warrior Brothers, they come to visit us." So that was the big male, the big patriarch who had put down my camp 38 years earlier. And he did not apologize because he's the watcher and the keeper of the river. But he was happy to see I had learned since I knew better now. So slowly they introduced us to the members of their clan, and we started seeing them coming out of the bush around us until at one point we could count visually 15 of them that we could see. And we were like, having this incredible conversation with them. And then she mentioned, and they were the oldest lineage of Sasquatch on Earth. So I asked her, I said, you must know my elder, Sasquatch elder, Camus, who gave me most of the channeling and the Sasquatch message to humanity. And she said, of course, he's our elder. So I said, is he with you? And she said, oh no, he's not here, but ask him. So I asked Camus, are you around? And took a couple of seconds, and he answered, I'm very far on a spaceship, but I hear you. And I said, oh, were you coming this way? And he said, okay, I'm coming. And just as I was saying this to Eric, he told me, look up. And I look up, and there's a spaceship coming. And it flew down, and it hovered above the Fraser River and turned into a bright green, very bright green light. And then it dimmed, and it flew above the tree line just up over our head. And we saw there was 3 lights under it. And it went and sat on the mountain across the river for most of the rest of the night. I was then informed that Camus had arrived with a Star Elder, who was a tall white, but not to be confused with the one we call Nordic. They are long skull. They are Andromedan, I believe. Are some of the most ancient race of the universe. So anyhow, this is our after these years of work with them. This is one example of an encounter. These experiences happen frequently, often with other witnesses, experiencers. So my purpose is to share this knowledge and to help human consciousness understand who are these closest relatives of ours, and to acknowledge the connection we have with them and the great wisdom they can teach us in our evolution. So there's a few tricks. I think we still have time. There's a few tricks or tips about how to connect with them, and the main thing is the intention to come with love and peace in the heart, with respect, as you would approach some elders or respected friends, and you want to connect with your heart, with your soul, and not try with preconceived idea to put a label or fit them into your own theories, because they don't need our permission to exist and to be who they are. If we want to know who they are, the best way to learn is from them directly. direct experience. So how to connect with them is go with a good heart, go in nature and wilderness where they can manifest more easily. They can come in your home, but start by nature because it's much more suited for this kind of experience. And there you can express your intention, why you're there, and first of all, you respect them and their territory. You may bring offerings, like gifting whatever the object is less important, the intention you give it with. If you put your loving and caring intention and friendship, they will feel it, whether it's a pinch of hair or pinch of tobacco, as natives often do, feather, stone, food, but don't bring junk food. But the main thing is to observe and listen, because if you want to hear them, you have to listen. If you want to see them, you have to watch, to observe, and are not necessarily Sasquatch family will come to you the first day, but you might notice tree structure, some bent arch tree that is bent, or some teepee shape in the woods, or some strange stick arrangement, or you might hear wood knocks, you might hear rock clappings, whistles, hoots, grunts, footsteps, branches cracking. These are the most often reported signs of their presence. The visual contact in a fully material form is rather rare. It's more rare, let's say. Yeah, you have to know how you react to them first, and how you might test your courage, your determination, and your intention. If you go out with guns, don't ever expect to make friends with them. Even cameras, if you want to like try to prove that you found them and you're the one who's got the best footage or this or that, it's going to be another blur squatch. So I would say, as time is running short, what is important to know is that these precious elder relatives of ours are very loving and caring, and they are caretakers of this earth, this home planet, Mother Earth, which is our mother as well. And we are here to be caretakers as well, to help all the higher intelligence, non-human intelligence, spirit of nature, elementals, star beings, to take care of this precious environment we are given to evolve for our long-term soul and genetic evolution. So let us be friends, and let us take a peaceful approach. That makes all the difference. To know something we don't know so much about, it's to be open-minded. That is first required, and to be peaceful and loving, because we are all to gain from our connections with such beings.